The second is Beijing Mayor Wang Jisan. They come from the coastal region, represents Jiang Zemin and Zheng Qinghong's faction, and both of them are princelings, children of high-ranking officials. We call them princelings, right? Now, there's another article I just finished actually last night, and really look at the Politburo. How many princelings will occupy the seats in the Politburo? It's remarkable. Could it be 8 or 9 out of these 24, possible 24 people? That looks so such an embarrassment for Hu Jintao when he talk about the harmonious society, the man of the people, but all of a sudden the princelings dominated the Politburo. The other faction dominated the other half, Tuan Pai. So it's such a bad, it's just a kind of embarrassment. In particular, at the time they talk about representing people and etc. And currently, only 3 leaders are princelings. Zheng Qinghong, Zhou Yongkang, and Yu Zhengsen, but the number will increase to 8 or 9. That's kind of development. 1/3 of the Politburo will be these kind of people. Now, all of them currently serve on the 16th Central Committee as 4 members or alternates. These 5 rising stars are described. And 4 of them study economics and law, and 1 study in history. In the case of 2 Lees and Xi Jinping, all of them hold a PhD degree. Now, I want to share you with another anecdote. In the 1980s, Deng Xiaoping's chief advisor in science and technology, Chen Qisheng, he is actually the father of China's missile industry. He proposed, this is in the 1980s, that by the year 2000, all the county level leaders should have college degrees, all the city mayors should have master degrees, all the ministers should have PhDs. So at that time, I was a PhD student at Princeton. I wrote a paper citing that quote. Then the secretary of the politics department at Princeton, she just laughed. He said, "Can you imagine a country run by PhDs? You guys cannot even run the copy machine." But now China is very close to that. After a few years, they're PhDs. No matter what, the next top leader highly likely will have a PhD, or maybe the entire standing committee will have PhDs. Now let me move to my 4th and final question: what are the collective characteristics of the 5th generation of leaders? Now, these 5 leaders, in fact, represent many shared characteristics of this 5th generation of leaders. They all had the substantial provincial leadership experience. This is very much like George W. Bush when he was interviewed, when he got elected, by a small, high school students. One student asked him, how to become president? He said, first you should become governor. Then, because of the experience, then you can become the president. Right. The same things in China. The criteria, you should become a party secretary of a province, the number 1 person. Then that experience will help you. Now, all of them, all 5 of them, have substantial experience. Most held post-degree, graduate degrees, often in economics, politics, and law. Now, this is in sharp contrast to the rule of technocrats. Now it's coming to an end. Currently, as we know, that the 9 top leaders in the standing committee all are engineers by training. They are all technocrats. Now that era is coming to an end. Now, some of them studied briefly in the West as a visiting scholar. Yuan Tao I mentioned, he was a visiting scholar at the Harvard Kennedy School in 2002, right? And some of the low level, like several ministers, are actually so-called returnees in China called sea turtles. Because sea turtles and returnees, foreign educated returnees, is the same word, right? So some of the sea turtles will emerge, but not probably to the top level, probably the minister levels, and some of them will enter the Politburo. One possible candidate will be Liu Mingkang. Now, probably the most important characteristic they share is that they all had humbling experiences, regardless if you are princelings or not princelings, during their formative years. Why? Because of the Cultural Revolution. 4 of them, these 5 rising stars, were settled down youth during the Cultural Revolution. And the other one, Wang Yang, he did not go to the countryside, but he started working in a factory when he was 16 years old. Because his father passed away, he was the eldest son in the family. So he started to work very hard to help his single mother to support the family. So this kind of humbling experience is very widely shared among this generation of leaders. Now, also, all these humbling experiences were instrumental in fostering some important personal traits for these leaders, such as endurance and adaptability to hardship, ability to communicate with not educated people like farmers, workers, and etc., and a deep understanding of rural poverty. This is a shared traits. Now, in my assessment, the 5th generation of leaders will likely be the main players in China's political reform. They will push for China's political reform in the next about 5 to 15 years. Now, this is probably due to their personal experiences and educational backgrounds, but mainly to do with the emerging checks and balances within the Chinese leadership. Not checks and balances like a Western democracy, the three branches, but checks and balances within the Chinese leadership. This is what I call one party, two factions, borrowing Deng Xiaoping's famous line, one country, two systems. Now, there's one party, there's no other party to challenge, but there's factions. They become increasingly transparent and etc. Now, for the first time in the history of this PRC, the ruling party is no longer led principally by a strong man such as Mao or Deng, but by two groups, or two competing elite groups. These two groups can be identified as the populist coalition, I described in the Time magazine and also Newsweek. Populist coalition represents the interests of migrant workers, farmers, urban poor. They usually represent the interests of China's inland region. We may call it China's red states. The other group, we call them the elitist coalition, represents the interests of the coastal elitists, represent the interests of coastal region, represents the interests of entrepreneurs, emerging middle class, princelings, and retainees. They also usually located in China's coastal region, or we may call China's blue states. So that two factions already start to emerge. Now, it is not coincident that the two possible successors that the New York Times identify, Party Secretary of Liaoning, Li Keqiang, and the Party Secretary of Shanghai, Xi Jinping, represent two different factions. Tuanpai, for Li Keqiang, he spent most of time in Henan, in China's inland province, and Xi Jinping always in the coastal region, whether it be Fujian, Zhejiang, or now Shanghai. He himself is princeling, like Jiang Zemin and Zheng Qinghong. They are all princelings. Now, so this is not coincidence. This really represents a kind of checks and balances within the system. And also interesting, the Chinese leaders have begun using the term inner party democracy to describe the idea that the party should institutionalize checks and balances within this leadership. Now, I would like to end with my presentation with the anecdote. I want to then comment on some of the questions you may raise. With the anecdote, actually, it was once told by Song Defu, as Hu Jintao's closest friend. He passed away a few months ago. He did not use name, but I put some names in that anecdote to make it more vivid. Li Keqiang and Xi Jinping, both of them are traveling in a camp. Then they want to set up a camp, in dense forest. Then all of a sudden, they saw a tiger racing towards them. Li Keqiang takes the time to put on his running shoes. Then Xi Jinping laughs and asks, "What's the use to wearing these running shoes? Do you think you can run faster than the tiger?" "No, of course not. I cannot run faster than the tiger, but I want to run faster than you." So at the time of rapid economic change in the PRC, any political leader and coalition perhaps should learn how to run faster than the other in terms of domestic and foreign policy. Thank you very much. I stop here and open for questions. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry for being late.
Sure.
But you've been introduced. Everyone knows who you are. Of course, we've all been reading about you the last week. In every newspaper in the country. People wanting to know your opinions on and the papers have tended to focus on just the two individuals, Xi and Liu, I guess.
Yeah.
But I have a question that's actually been nagging on me. I noted that Commerce Minister Bo Xilai is going to go to Cheng.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going as secretary or as governor.
Secretary. Should be secretary.
Okay. Would that be considered a positive step for him, or moving him out of Beijing